first time she stepped in her new swanky office building, she felt her slender shoulders straightening with pride, and she remembered her humble beginnings. She used to be a little girl who rarely spoke. She wasn't shy, she wasn't stubborn, she was just unseen. She would play with dolls all by herself, trying not to disturb the world. And when someone did notice her, even to praise, she shrank back. Compliments felt frightening, attention felt dangerous. She struggled making friends and often became an easy target for harsher people. Her silence made her invisible and sometimes vulnerable, often others assuming and deciding for her. But something interesting happened over time. Inside her, a small voice began to whisper. In dreams, in thoughts, in ideas. Those ideas made her believe. That belief gave her a strong will to act. The girl grew. She achieved things no one expected of her. She traveled far, hit milestones, and survived many storms. But her voice, her actual voice, remained trapped. She could speak technically, but loud conversations still scared her. Social meets overwhelmed her. Her thoughts often remained locked behind her lips. That day, I noticed her trying to speak. She opened her mouth, said something softly, but the words simply weren't audible enough to grab anyone's attention. I reached out to her, and she told me she wished she had spoken freely growing up. She wished her voice had been encouraged and celebrated. That's when I decided to start this podcast for her and people like her. As I wondered, could I have helped her earlier? Would her journey have been different? Or perhaps that was never the point. Stay with me to know why. Hi, welcome to Unmuted. I'm Roohi, and I share stories, reflections, and gentle thoughts that I hope will warm your heart and maybe remind you of your own inner world. You might be wondering, why this podcast? Why should anyone listen? Because stories like hers, stories of quiet children, soft women, tender hearts, often go unheard. And yet, their perspectives are often the deepest. Watch a group of children playing anywhere. There's always one child quietly observing from a distance. That child sees everything, noticing what others miss, feeling what others rush past. Maybe that child was you. Maybe that child is someone you love. Maybe you are simply someone who carries unspoken thoughts. This space is for you, the quiet thinkers, the gentle feelers, the ones who speak more in their minds than out loud. You might think, why do I care so much about quiet people? That's because I owe this show to that little girl. Because that little girl was me. That story is mine. And there is more to it. You see, I achieved almost everything what I aimed for. My strong will made big things possible for me. But I was still a quiet person mostly. My silence wasn't empty though. It became a language of its own. Writing became my way of speaking when speech failed me. It helped channel my energy into positivity, and I started journaling my thoughts and reflections, and later started sharing those in a blog, Soulful. People connected with it, and for the first time, when some of my stories were published, I felt the world truly heard me. And then life happened, literally. I became a mother to two beautiful children. But postpartum depression clouded my mental health. Some friends were lost as collateral damage. Darkness crept in quietly. Writing, once my escape, became painful. Words felt heavy, so I stopped writing. I tried traveling, but that didn't help. By the time I moved to a beautiful country, I was more like a lost soul. Making new friends became a struggle once again. So I withdrew into motherhood and survival. And then came an accident. Physically, it should have been minor. Mentally, I spiraled. A simple slip turned into a medical emergency I couldn't cope with. My one strong will was now merely a shadow. That cold September morning became a stark reminder that the battles within can be far more dangerous than those outside. I realized how fragile the mind can be and how desperately I needed healing to reclaim my mental health. That moment wasn't my breaking, it was my awakening. Mental health. I have now used this term two times, so let me digress for a bit from my story to ask, what even is mental health? People talk about mental health a lot, but I feel generally understanding is still lacking in our communities. We all have physical health, a body, a system, symptoms we can see. But we also have mental health, our mind's inner software. It affects how we think, feel, decide, and cope. Some of us have visible physical struggles. Some of us have silent mental ones. Mine were silent until they weren't. Let me give you an example. Stephen Hawking, a great scientist, had visible physical struggles. Yet he made groundbreaking discoveries as he had a sound mind. I have a healthy body, but my mind was afflicted, so even simple tasks became challenging. Is this going to be a mental health education show? I hear some new doubts. I have grown from a sleeper to a seeker, but I am not an expert. This podcast isn't a mental health lecture, but mental well being is the thread that runs through every story I tell. Not to advise, but to share. You might still ask, why a podcast? And to answer, I need to go back and continue my story. In my healing journey, I sought help. Psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, spiritual gurus. But the real shift happened when I finally confronted my own story. Among all the other factors that led to my weak state of mind, I realized something important. Silence should be a choice, not a prison, not a limitation. I could see my inability to express myself in speech was harming me more than anything. It had become the root cause of all the anxiety I carried within. For the first time, I started to push myself to speak, to use the voice I had ignored for decades. It was scary. I could feel the tension of speaking up as it affected me physically. Racing heart, weak legs, throat choking. But to my surprise, in spite of all this, I fell in love with my voice, however weak it sounded, and I decided not to let it go. So, this podcast is me keeping a promise to speak, to honor my story, and to let the little girl inside me breathe freely. So, now you ask, what's in it for you? Imagine my life as a small, fragile plant, growing quietly, bending in storms, yet somehow still blooming. Now imagine every story I share is one of those blooms. Maybe any story mirrors yours. Maybe it mirrors someone you know. Or maybe you simply enjoy gentle reflections that make you pause. My aim is not to shout wisdom. I have no desire to be loud either. The journey and stories I am here to share aren't about extraordinary success. They are about ordinary happiness we all deserve. The kind we earn through healing, self love, and acceptance. Unmuted is not just a podcast, it is a home for quiet voices, a space where softness is strength, a reminder that gentle people carry deep power, a companion for anyone who feels different inside a noisy world. There is a beautiful poem, Patience, by Rabindranath Tagore, one of the greatest Indian writer and Nobel laureate. I will dedicate it to you who relate with me on silence and speaking. If thou speakest not, I will fill my heart with thy silence and endure it. I will keep still and wait like the night with starry vigil, and its head bent low with patience. The morning will surely come, the darkness will vanish, and thy voice pour down in golden streams breaking through the sky. Then thy words will take wing in songs from every one of my birds' nests, and thy melodies will break forth in flowers in all my forest groves. If something today resonated with you, if you know someone who struggles to speak, or if you have ever been the silent one, I would love to hear your story. Write to me, message me, or simply listen again when you need company. Thank you for listening. You are welcome to stay back to meditate and practice silence with this serene music called Love by Aylex. I will speak again in the next episode about another healing story, about the realization that I am not alone, that my suffering had a name, and how I embraced it. Until then, take care and be soulful.